The Easter doubleheader is upon us. An absolutely vital period we're going into here is my take on the state of play in the Championship, automatic and playoff promotion races. Why so significant? Well, we get 2 complete rounds of fixtures across 4 days. For once, everyone plays on the same day, and of course, it's round 40 and 41 in the calendar. So when we come out of it, 3/4 of Championship teams will have just 5 games to go, and with each passing round, that final table crystallises just a little bit more. Right at the top, we're able to start doing our maths now with Burnley, aren't we? They hold a 17-point lead over 3rd place Borough and 4th place Luton. Burnley go to Borough on Good Friday in the 8 p.m. TV game. Burnley will be promoted on Good Friday if they beat Borough and Luton fail to beat Millwall. If it doesn't happen on Friday for Burnley, then we move to Monday, and look, it's a 17-point gap. If that has either maintained over Borough or Luton or even shrunk by a point across the weekend, it is job done for Vincent Kompany, and Burnley will be back in the Premier League. In the 2nd place race, things swung in Sheffield United's favour this past weekend. On paper, it was Middlesbrough who had the easier opponent, but they collapsed in the second half over at Huddersfield to a very surprising 4-2 defeat. Sheffield United, on the other hand, went to Norwich, won 1-0 and popped the lovely old 6-point gap in over Borough with a game in hand. Meanwhile, Luton's win over Watford at the weekend brought them level with Borough. They have, though, also played a game more than Sheffield United, who currently hold the higher ground. Over the weekend, then, Sheffield United host Wigan. Then they are also off to Burnley. They're going to be hoping for 3 points over struggling Wigan, and probably for Burnley to be promoted on Good Friday, and perhaps, having reached their goal, maybe take their eye off the ball a little over the weekend. Middlesbrough possibly have it a little bit tougher. They host champions-elect Burnley, as we've mentioned, and they're off to Bristol City. If Borough are going to pass Sheffield United at some point, that gap probably does need to close by at least some degree this weekend, meaning they probably need an unlikely favour from Wigan against Sheffield United and to go and win at Bristol City and at least match up with whatever the Blades do against Burnley. If that gap holds at 6 points at the end of this Easter weekend, Sheffield United can really then afford 2 pretty big slip-ups in their remaining 6 games. If the gap gets even bigger, then it really starts to get within touching distance for Sheffield United's return to the Premier League. The fly in the ointment could, of course, be Luton, though. They go to Millwall away, and then they've got Blackpool, struggling Blackpool indeed, at home. They do play at 12:30 on Good Friday, so a win for Luton at the Den early in the day could put the pressure on everybody else ahead of their games. It's not going to be easy, though. Millwall are only 1 place below Luton in the table. Only Burnley and Borough have lost fewer home games than the Lions. In terms of Luton and Borough now, if they do want to make this late charge for 2nd place, we're so deep into it now that basically a winning streak of some description is going to be needed. And unless they get lucky with a Sheffield United collapse, there isn't much margin left for drop points many more times during this running. In the playoff picture, it's Millwall and Blackburn currently holding the higher ground in 5th and 6th. Nice juicy 4-point gap over Norwich and Coventry, 5-point gap over West Brom and Preston. Can I see Millwall or Blackburn having a tricky weekend? Well, Millwall have that tough assignment against Luton, but they are at home. Then they go to Hull. So 3 or 4 points across the weekend will surely satisfy the Lions fans. Thank you, Fixture Computer, because here's one that really pops out though. Good Friday, 6th place Blackburn host 7th placed Norwich. Proper 6-pointer that one, but the pressure does seem to be on Norwich. They're the away team, and a draw does suit Blackburn much better with that gap already being in their favour. Look, either way, a Rovers win gives them a 7-point gap over the Canaries with a game in hand. Of course, the Norwich win closes it to just a point. Blackburn then go to a buoyant Huddersfield on Easter Monday, but the context could be wildly different, all depending on Norwich at home on Good Friday for Blackburn. Back to Norwich, and their second game does look a little bit friendlier at home to Rotherham on Easter Monday, but does seem fairly simple that they've got to go and win at Blackburn and then at least match Rovers in the second game. 6 points, I think, looks pretty imperative, though, for David Wagner's side in their chase for the playoffs. Down in 8th, Coventry were my dark horses to sneak in here, but they had an absolute shocker at home to Stoke, losing 4-0 last time out. The Sky Blues have got Swansea away and then Watford at home. Not the worst fixtures, not the best. I think they can get 4 points on their day, and from that, you'd imagine they might be at least a point closer if they can pull off a win and a draw. Now, you know me, always looking for the narrative. What makes this a really fun potential conversation is that West Brom in 9th, Preston in 10th appear to have the nicest fixtures on paper. West Brom play 20th place Rotherham and 19th place QPR. Preston, 19th place QPR, and 18th place Reading, who may or may not have a points deduction by that point. Yes, I'm sure we'll get the normal, but sides at the bottom will be fighting for their lives. Fine, whatever, but I bet if you ask any of the top half managers to swap fixtures with anyone, West Brom and Preston would be the two they would swap with. In short then, unless they take their eye off the ball, Burnley will be up either on Good Friday or Easter Monday. Sheffield United just need to not drop points in both games, and I'm sure they'll be satisfied with Borough and Luton lurking in the background, needing probably a 4 or 6 point haul to really move the needle. Millwall versus Luton and Blackburn versus Norwich on Good Friday are key for the current playoff occupants. Coventry don't have the worst fixtures, and if West Brom or Preston, maybe both, can put 6 points on the board, it gets even more interested in the playoff race for us neutrals. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments on how you see what often can be the most tense weekend of the entire season playing out over Easter. For those teams in the playoff shake-up, 2 will be heading to Wembley at the end of May. I got acclimatised down there this past Sunday. Click up here to see my blog from the Papa John's Trophy final where Bolton demolished Plymouth in the Wembley sunshine.